So lesson 10 is crime and punishment, and it connects to these three themes of the moral law, the ceremonial law, and finally the civil law. But this lesson also kind of connects to the next lesson as well when we talk about covenant in crisis, which is lesson 11. But first and foremost, what we see with the civil law or the judicial law is that we really understand that we're dealing with a national situation. Just like in our own country, we have national laws. If you become a citizen of our country, you make a promise to abide by our laws. And if you break those laws, there's sanctions, there's punishments, depending on the nature of the law. We see that characteristic in the judicial law. You know, if a man does this, then this is the punishment he gets. And so we see that on the individual level. And we talk about different kinds, how the law has, four basic governing principles that we're familiar with in our own, at least in the United States. Not all nations have this, but equal protection under the law and blind justice, punishment fitting the crime, innocent until proven guilty. These principles govern the nation and the people in it individually. But what we see in this area of civil law, or the idea of the judicial law, is it's not just given at an individual level of, if an individual was to break a sin. For instance, if it was a mortal sin, if it's a capital sin, there's some murder or idolatry, got execution under the Mosaic law. But there's also within this a higher level of law, if you will, or a sense of justice, and that's this idea of national punishment. If Israel as a nation, we recall that this Mosaic covenant is made with the nation of Israel. And so if Israel is following the Lord and obeying the Lord, they're going to have blessing. They're going to enjoy it. We see that at different times in Israel's story, following David through the judges and following the kings. We see there's times of revival and national blessing. And in a lot of cases, the law is rediscovered in those cases, and there's a renewed commitment, covenant commitment, if you will. But also, on the flip side, where there is national betrayal, where there is national guilt, when Israel goes after serving other gods, they're essentially cheating on their covenant partner, which is what we see in the prophets again and again. And in that case, the law promises, if you go after other gods, if you forget me, if you betray this covenant relationship, you're going into exile. And so the curse reasserts itself. We see, again, that theme of blessing and cursing really come to the fore in the Mosaic law. And we see it in the sense that the Mosaic law defines sin for us to a degree we hadn't seen before. And so the Mosaic law actually increases the problem of sin. And Paul talks about this in Romans 5. And at the same time, we see this national threat, because Israel, again and again, you see it actually right after the law was given in Sinai. They built a golden calf and worship it. Almost, covenant barely got off the ground before it's in crisis. And this would come around again and again. And it's only God's wonderful mercies that got them to the promised land at all, or even got them to Jesus, because the story of Israel, the story of this covenant, is one of often failure.